Hi, my name's Jim Strong. I'm from Stan State, and today I am presenting a paper on experiential pedagogy, role plays, applications in teaching a course in negotiation. At a recent conference on active learning techniques, one faculty member quipped a takeoff on the old Soviet Union adage about their economic system. Instructors pretend to teach and students pretend to learn. While this quip may be unduly critical, it is a common complaint among university instructors that too many students are not sufficiently engaged in their courses for the purpose of learning the material on a deeper and more purposeful level. As any effective, experienced instructor knows, teaching so students learn higher order thinking and performance skills is difficult. The purpose of this paper is to discuss the application of experiential learning technique of role playing to a course in negotiation. What is experiential learning, and how can the advantages be maximized and the disadvantages minimized in its application to the use of role plays in a course in negotiation? McKeechee describes experiential learning methods as follows. 1. The methods use real-world problems, equipment, or actions to the extent possible. 2. The situations involve complex, ill-defined problems that don't have a simple solution and may even have more than one possible answer. 3. The situations involve the learners in solving a problem that reflects the kinds of problems they would encounter in the real world using the real tools of the discipline. 4. The instructor is a resource, but not the leader of the problem-solving task. 5. When the learners have come to a solution, they spend an equal amount of time reflecting on how they reached their solution and getting feedback about the quality of their proposed solution. Why do experiential methods, and specifically the tactic of role-playing, enhance student learning? I'm assuming in the following discussion of role plays that they are 1. Designed and implemented in an effective manner. 2. Are being used to learn attitudes, knowledge, and skills that are complex, dynamic, and interpersonal. And 3. That the students have an average level of interest in the material relative to other courses. The following is a list of reasons drawn from the literature regarding why role plays and experiential learning generally can be highly effective pedagogies in appropriate situations. Students have to want to learn. The broad reason role plays are more effective is because they are more engaging and motivating to students than non-experiential pedagogies, for example, lectures, to learn the attitudes, gain the knowledge, and develop the skills that are the subject of the learning objectives. Consequently, students pay closer attention, think, reflect, understand, and remember more deeply the material and behaviors associated with the role play. The following is a list of reasons drawn from the literature regarding why role plays and experiential learning generally can be highly effective pedagogies in appropriate situations. Students have to want to learn. The broad reason role plays are more effective is because they are more engaging and motivating to students than non-experiential pedagogies, for example, lectures, to learn the attitudes, gain the knowledge, and develop the skills that are the subject of the learning objectives. Consequently, students pay closer attention, think, reflect, understand, and remember more deeply the material and behaviors associated with the role play. There are a number of reasons in the general literature on teaching and learning as to why role plays are more engaging and motivating to students, and thus very effective in teaching some types of complex skills and knowledge. A. Autonomy and self-determination is a fundamental human need in most situations. People want to be in charge of their own behavior, and they value having some control over their environment. Role plays offer students opportunities for decision making, both proactively and reactively, that leads to specific outcomes which are compared across students. B. Students see role plays as closer to the real-world performance situations than other non-experiential pedagogies. For example, negotiating skills can be learned at a cognitive framework level from textbooks and lectures, but mastering the skill in a real-world performance situation takes actual practice negotiating in these environments. Role-playing is the pedagogy that closely replicates real-world situations and is thus relevant and motivating to students because the attitudes, knowledge, and skills learned from the role play are perceived as useful and practical to their career and life goals. And if students do not have such perceptions, instructors should be able to persuade them regarding the usefulness of learning negotiation skills by participating in and reflecting on role plays. C. Role plays are fun and competitive. Students don't always appreciate the impact applying themselves in college will have on their careers and lives, and therefore are not as motivated as they could be. Role plays engage and motivate students who lack this career and life goals orientation, and they learn at a higher level than they otherwise would. There is a social facilitation effect, which is defined as the tendency for individuals to perform differently when in the mere presence of others. In the negotiation role plays, students actually negotiate in both one-on-one and in teams against other teams. Subsequent to the negotiation, all results are posted and discussed by the entire class. This competition creates a social facilitation effect which motivates students to engage in the role play and the material more than they otherwise would. Carnes reports an amazing levels of student engagement using month-long role immersion games due in part to fierce competition between students on opposing sides of the role play, leading to strong community bonds among teammates and developing speaking, writing, leadership, and problem-solving skills. The following are other learning benefits to the use of role plays beyond motivational effects. A. The concept of situated learning. Lave and Wagner, 1991, explains how role-play pedagogy improves the transfer of skills from a teaching and learning context to a practitioner real-world context. Education is generally criticized for teaching students knowledge and skills that are never used in real life. Students are criticized for not being able to take what they have learned in school and apply it to solving problems or seizing opportunities in the real world. Psychologists describe this inability to transfer knowledge and skills as situated learning, which means that knowing something is closely tied to a context. And when we learn not only the facts and skills, but that context. When we try to remove the knowledge or skill from its context, we no longer have the same situation, and therefore we no longer have the same response. We often no longer know. Mikichi, 2014, page 203. Situated learning is why many of us, when alphabetizing names, end up singing parts of the ABC song to ourselves to remember the order of letters in the alphabet. We learn the order of the letters of the alphabet singing the song, so the song is the context for that knowledge. If the context for learning negotiation skills are lectures and textbooks, transferring those skills and knowledge to the real world of dynamic negotiating will be impossible for most people. A role-play context is much closer to a real-world situation and gives students a much better understanding of how to transfer skills to the real world. For example, knowing the difference between integrative and distributive negotiating strategies and tactics from reading a textbook and listening to lectures is very different from knowing how to apply integrative and distributive strategies and tactics in a real-world negotiation. Role play exercises open students' eyes to what they know and what they don't know about negotiation. What most students don't know is how to negotiate effectively in different types of real-world negotiation situations, or use a style that would be appropriate but is contrary to their personality or predispositions. Role plays may also show students that they are more capable as negotiators than they thought, or that they enjoy the dynamics, gamesmanship, and sense of accomplishment or other dimensions of negotiations which they had not considered or thought they would dislike. B. Role plays have an immediate feedback process, and those that are videoed present even more powerful opportunities for students to improve executive control processes or self-regulation. See Weinstein, AC, and Young, 2011. In the negotiation role plays, results from all teams are posted on the board, and a comprehensive class-wide debriefing occurs. Students compare their results, strategies, and tactics to their classmates. This is an excellent opportunity for self-regulation and improvement. C. Role plays stimulate emotional responses and provide an opportunity for students to manage emotion in a dynamic interpersonal situation. Damasio, 1995, suggests that humans navigate their cognitive processing with a great deal of reliance on somatic markers or gut instinct driven by emotion. Mikichi, 2014, page 214. In negotiation role plays, students often experience increased emotions driven by competitiveness, desire to cooperate, social facilitation, and social norms, and provides an opportunity for students to better understand how emotion affects their decision-making and more effectively manage emotion in negotiations. D. Role plays encourage higher level thinking, problem solving, and planning skills. A role play is essentially an interpersonal dynamic problem solving situation. In the negotiation role plays, students are given common and confidential information, and they must formulate a plan and execute a negotiation with the other side or sides. Teaching negotiation course using role play pedagogy. One example. In the course under discussion, 8 negotiation role play exercises and 3 negotiation cases are utilized in a 16-week semester. As mentioned above, the purpose of this presentation is to discuss the use of role plays, not case studies. Students negotiate with other students either individually or in teams. Breakout rooms are utilized, which can be a challenge to find and reserve. Negotiation outcomes from all groups are posted on the blackboard and discussed in class, including role play summary questions. 1 week after the discussion, students are required to submit written answers to role play summary questions. The purpose of having students submit written answers is to encourage them to reflect on the role play experience after having benefited from a discussion of all the role plays done during that class period. It is also an opportunity to practice writing skills. The following are lessons learned from teaching this course and other suggestions. 1. Negotiation lends itself to role-play pedagogy because negotiation role-plays can closely and easily mirror many types of real-world negotiations. 2. Effectively executing negotiation role-plays requires significant instructor planning and is time-consuming. 3. The class time period should be at least 2 hours, or only short role plays will be manageable. Attendance is required, and no class participation points are awarded if a student does not attend. 4. Identify breakout rooms needed and reserve them. Have some extra emergency rooms and other suitable spaces available, for example, an instructor's office, in case a breakout room is double booked or otherwise unavailable. This will happen occasionally. 5. Have as many organizational and logistical decisions made before class as possible. While this is time consuming, it is much preferable to chaos at the start of the class, especially managing no-show students. Do not try to organize any part of the role play at the start of class except taking attendance and identifying no-shows. For example, if the instructor gives the wrong confidential information to a student, the role play is ruined. The following can be done before class. Assign students to roles, and this is typically done randomly. Have packets made for each student prior to the class containing detailed instructions, general information for both sides, confidential information for each side, and a timeline of events. For example, 15 minutes in class distributing materials and getting started, 30 minutes for within group planning, an hour for between groups negotiation, and 45 minutes for debriefing. There will be students who will not attend the class who have been assigned to a role. These no-shows are disruptive and a bane of role plays for instructors. Having the packets made up before class helps manage the no-show problem, and role play groups who have all their players can leave and get started, reducing the number of students and teams the instructor needs to deal with at the start of class. 6. There are 2 ways to manage the student no-show problem. Assign 2 or 3 students to each team within the negotiation, so if a student does not attend, the team simply negotiates as a team of 1 or 2. One disadvantage with this solution is a situation where the negotiation becomes 1 against 3 when 2 players on a given side are absent. This puts one negotiator at a distinct disadvantage, but has the benefit of illustrating the impact group size has on a negotiation. A student from a full complement of role players could be moved to the team that is short players. A second disadvantage is that it is beneficial in some negotiations for students to negotiate on their own, and it is important for students to learn how to negotiate one-on-one or one-on-two and so forth. A second solution is to assign some students in reserve as observers who can step into roles to replace no-shows, and if not needed, simply observe a negotiation. Disadvantages of this approach are that if these students are observers, they don't improve their negotiating skills. Of course, observing can be useful if taken seriously. Additionally, the role play discussion questions are written assuming the student is an active participant, not an observer. The questions would have to be rewritten to allow for observers to answer appropriately. For example, questions such as, how do you feel about your outcomes now that you've seen the outcomes of other negotiation groups are important, but do not lend themselves to adaptation for observer students. 7. Written instructor feedback is given regarding student answers using a modified standard feedback approach akin to an FAQ approach. A rubric could also be developed. Short instructor answers are also provided, and a more elaborate discussion of the role play questions is posted in the LMS for students to read. Teleconferencing software such as Zoom can be used to conduct synchronous virtual negotiations. There are some challenges because of the need for students to be in multiple different meetings, but it is manageable and time-consuming to set up. There are 2 considerable advantages to using Zoom for role plays. First, if students are not in the classroom and are accessing the class remotely, the problem of identifying and reserving breakout rooms goes away. Zoom has an unlimited number of breakout rooms, meetings. Second, Zoom meetings can be recorded, and an instructor can provide the recording link to students for reference or require viewing before answering the discussion questions. Using an LMS, the instructor can track if a student logged into the video link and for how long. 9. Negotiations can be conducted via email, social media, telephone, and other electronic platforms, which can explore the impact various media have on negotiations, which can be significant. The following are some examples of organizational documents used in the course and a brief description of the role plays. Slide 19 is a schedule for the role play Geotech and Robust Routers. Slide 20 shows the meeting room and team assignments for the Geotech and Robust Routers role play executed with Zoom and showing the meeting links. If you use Zoom, note hosts must log into the meeting for the meeting to take place. Thus, the instructor cannot be the host for all meetings. Slide 21 shows role play assignments for a face-to-face role play. Each student receives a packet of instructions with this document as the cover, and their names are checked for their copy. A master copy of this document is also used to take attendance. Slide 22 lists the first 4 role plays used in the course. Slide 23 lists the final 4 role plays used in the course. I hope you have found this information useful. If you would like a copy of the syllabus or any other materials, send me your email and I will provide them. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.